The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, 'You shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment.' But I say to you that if you are angry with a brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you are angry with a brother or sister, you'll be liable to judgment. If you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say, 'You fool,' you will be liable to the hell of fire. So when you're offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you're on the way to court with him, or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife except on the ground of unchastity causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, 'You shall not swear falsely, but carry out the vows you have made to the Lord.' But I say to you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
May the words of my mouth and meditation of our heart be acceptable in your sight, my Lord, my strength, and my Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all here this morning. I welcome you all with all my heart. Here at Emmanuel, we think it's important that you feel welcome, and that you feel like you belong here because you do. That's important to us, and it is especially important to me. You see, I went to several churches when I was younger. I felt more welcomed at some churches than others. But for a long time, I never felt like I belonged. It seemed to me that all the folks there were perfect Christians, and I did not know how to relate to them. I didn't grow up in a church family, and neither did most of my friends. So I didn't feel comfortable with the other folks there in church who seemed to understand the Bible and seemingly lived out what was expected of Christians. When I read Bible passages like our gospel for today, I assumed that everyone else in the church lived up to those commandments of Jesus, but knew that I didn't, and neither did my friends and family. I just didn't feel like I fit in. Things like those that Jesus commanded in these passages we read today just didn't seem like they could ever be real. Yet I wanted to follow Jesus' commandments. It all just seemed so impossible to me. The 10 Commandments were daunting enough. And these more detailed commandments from Jesus require more from us than the basic instructions from God. Was I the only one in that room who just couldn't do it? The readings for today from the Gospel of Matthew are from what is known as the Sermon on the Mount. And they expand on the depth of meaning from previous Old Testament instruction, including the 10 Commandments. Some people have believed that Jesus is changing something as basic as the 10 Commandments and creating new law. But Jesus himself said that he did not come to abolish the law, but he came to fulfill the law. Seems to me that he's taking the basics of previous teaching and revealing the next level of understanding. He's beginning a process similar to that the Apostle Paul described when he said, "Brothers, I could not speak to you as to spiritual men, but as to worldly, even as to babes in Christ. I fed you with milk and not with solid food." He's guiding us towards solid food in terms of what God has created us for. Now, of course, the Ten Commandments were given long before the birth of Paul, but I think the principle is the same. Remember, the Ten Commandments were given to a people that had not really known God, a people that had just been freed from slavery in Egypt. So God had to give them the basics, the milk of his teaching. Instead of giving details such as Jesus did, which is that you not only shouldn't murder, but you shouldn't stay angry with another person, you should seek reconciliation. I think God thought the basics would suffice for now. The Hebrews, fresh out of Egypt, were problems for God and for Moses as they traveled, constantly quarreling, wanting comfort when they hadn't yet reached the promised land, relying on distorted memories of what it had been like back in Egypt as a framework for the ideal life. They were babes in their walk with God. So perhaps instead of giving the rationale behind each commandment, God stuck to the basics. Never mind for now the problem of experiencing and holding on to anger. They're obviously not ready for that. For now, just keep it simple. Just don't kill each other as you muddle through this journey. So Jesus takes us to the next step. He further reveals God's desire for us, not only that you shouldn't murder, but you should reconcile with anyone you're angry with. Similarly, Jesus teaches us that there are behaviors leading up to adultery which should not be engaged in. And likewise for a commandment in Deuteronomy restricting divorce, and again from Deuteronomy about not taking oaths. As Jesus expounds on the depth of each injunction, you might want to ask what the common thread here is. What's he getting at? I venture to point out that everything Jesus is talking about specifically concerns relationship. The bottom line, both in the Ten Commandments and in this teaching, is about maintaining relationship. In fact, when Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment is, he replied, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And the second commandment is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and all the prophets." Really, that is the bottom line. The Christian walk is all about relationship with God and neighbor. All the four items we're addressing today could be summarized as love God and neighbor. But life is usually more complicated than that, or at least we make it more complicated, which is why we need specifics like Jesus gives us in this reading from today. As I said earlier, these passages from today's gospel are part of the teaching in Matthew that's known as the Sermon on the Mount. I told you I had attended many churches when younger, and I've heard many theories about the Sermon on the Mount and its teaching. Sermon on the Mount has been characterized in some churches as applying only to the kingdom of heaven when Jesus returns. And that's been an excuse for some who say these are impossible commandments to follow until that kingdom is established. Of course, once you say it's impossible, it becomes just that. I think it's pretty lame to say I can't do that until Jesus comes back. But what makes it even more impossible is that we think that following the commandments is a matter of our own willpower. Willpower that will give us the ability to go beyond our own shortcomings. We're culturally and personally hemmed in by the teaching we have received, and hampered even more by the arrogance of our own egos. The bottom line is this: we are really all sinners. We constantly fall short of the mark. We fail to relate to God and each other with love. Relationships such as marriage, partnership, friendship are difficult to maintain. Perhaps impossible if we rely on our own ability, if we think we can do it ourselves. But the solution is actually simple. In the 12-step programs, they have a way of verbalizing that solution. In Adult Children of Alcoholics, they put it this way: we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God. In our own baptismal covenant, in response to the question, will you seek and serve Christ in all persons, loving your neighbor as yourself? We respond, I will, with God's help. So the simple solution is this: fully turn your life over to God. But as always, the simple solution is not the easy solution. We have to do it again and again as our own egos and training constantly want to lead us into sin. And if we have to do it repeatedly, I say just do it. Perhaps this is what Paul meant when he said pray without ceasing. The road to maintaining relationship is long, with a lot of potholes along the way that cause us to stumble in spite of our good intentions. We're going to falter. In spite of what I thought of Christians earlier in my life, I've now come to realize that we are all sinners. But that leads us to the even better news. God has forgiven our sins through Jesus Christ, and all we have to do is claim that forgiveness. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do our best to follow these teachings, these commandments. Really, I think that Jesus is showing us how to live in the way God intended for us to live. And if we do that, we may be living a life that is very fulfilling. It's difficult, but not impossible, only if we surrender control of our lives to God. And if we remember what we said in our baptismal covenant, with God's help, I will. We have to realize that we need it and continually ask for that help from God.